Hello everybody, ButteryButters here. Welcome to another basics tutorial I am doing, the basics of Photoshop. I'm using Photoshop CS6, but the basics of Photoshop are pretty much the same throughout most of its versions, so you can use this for CS5 or many other tutorials besides. Now, I think it's important to say before I start, I am not an expert on Photoshop by any means. There are people I know who are much more skilled at it than I am, but I know enough to make some decent effects, and I know enough to show you guys the basics, which I know some people would enjoy, so I hope you guys are going to enjoy this. We are going to go over the basics of Photoshop today, including starting a new project, using layers, and the tools that you can use. So, go ahead, when you open Photoshop, you can go ahead and just hit File New, or if you really want to, you can hit Control-N to start a new project. You want to name it however you want. There are several presets. You want to set the width, the height, the resolution, all that fun stuff. You want the background to be transparent. It'll make it that much easier. So let's just go ahead and name this Photoshop CS6 tutorial. There we are. Let's make it nice and easy, 1280 720. We don't need anything too ridiculously high definition, so let's just go ahead and put it at 400 instead of 500. RGB is fine. 8-bit is fine. You don't need 16 or 32. And, okay, and here we are. Now, there's one thing that is going to be very useful to you right away, is you see these rulers that are on the top? You always want to make sure you go to View, and you want to make sure that Rulers is enabled. It's enabled by default. Now, using these rulers, if you go ahead and make sure you have this one, the Move tool selected, clicking on the rulers allows you to bring little rulers in. So, go ahead and do one of those. And do one of those, and you can see I can make a box like right here. Nice and simple. Very useful for thumbnails and all the like. So in this basics tutorial, we're going to be showing you how to do a basic thumbnail. Now, a lot of YouTubers who use thumbnails use designs that are free. For example, this one is ICG's 100 sub special. I use a lot of his designs in my thumbnails in my videos and all that fun stuff. You can see he's got his own fonts, which I transferred. Stuff for Cinema 4D, lights and flares, particles, patterns, social network icons, including Machinima, Skype, Twitch, YouTube, all that fun stuff. DeviantArt, iTunes, and got all these different things. Partner logos, you name it, he's got it in here. Even got these, which are really, really awesome. I should probably use these more often, because these are pretty cool. But yeah, anything, when you search on Google for images, you want to make sure to have them labeled for modified reuse, otherwise you could run into issues. Likewise with fonts, always make sure to check the licenses that they are free to use for commercial use, for use on YouTube, unless you don't plan on monetizing your videos. There's also texture files here, which is pretty cool. But yeah, you want to make sure that all the stuff you have is free to use, otherwise it's going to be bad. Alright, so first is we're going to go with layers. Alright, so we have layer 1 right here. In the layers, channels, and paths tray, go into layers and you see this little drop down. You can create a new layer with Shift-Control-N. You can group your layers and you can change the blending option for the layer. You can also do that by right-clicking here, and you can see all the different things. So yeah, we're going to first insert a new layer, so, what was it, Control-Shift-N? Yep, Control-Shift-N for a new layer, and let's just name it Layer 2. Now, in Layer 1, I'm going to go ahead and drag one of the wallpaper images, something nice and simple, this one. There we are. When you drag an image, you can resize it. Certainly better than scaling it in another program. Go ahead and do one of these. There we go. That is layer 1, and by double clicking the layer's name you can rename it, so we're just going to name it background, which is probably a misspelling, but anyway. Alright, now let me show you how layers work. So hitting B will make you select the brush tool. Now if I do something like this, as you can see, layer 1 has nothing on it, but layer 2 has the edit I just made. Go ahead and hit Control-Z to undo, go to layer 2, do the same exact thing, and now if we get rid of the background by hiding it, or if we get rid of layer 1, there you go. So any edits you make to any video, whether you're using a brush tool or anything else, should always be done on a new layer, because it's much easier to organize that way. So I said we were making a thumbnail, right? Now what are we going to make this a thumbnail for? Let's go ahead and say this is a thumbnail for... Let's just make this a thumbnail for Photoshop, shall we? So I should go into my images for YouTube series, thumbnails, and for my... I'm not doing MLB The Show anytime soon, so ignore that. Tutorials, Photoshop. Photoshop CS6. Alright, I managed to get the logo for Photoshop CS6, so let's go ahead and resize it. I'm going to put it right here in the corner. Place. There we are. New layer. Let's just name it another new layer. So yeah, we have the Photoshop logo all by itself. Nice and simple, right? Now here's the next tool you're always going to want to use, is the text tool. Go ahead and select that or press T. Select the area you want to use it in. There you go. Now, going to go ahead and select a lower size font and a different font. Go ahead and let's go with OKC, the one I always use, and just type out the word tutorial. Too big. Go ahead and select it all, lower it, AL. It's again too big. I want it to fit on one line. There we go. Photoshop CS6 tutorial. Alright, there we are. Nice and simple, right? Now, there's a few other things you can do. We have the selection tool right here, which will allow you to select an area and say I didn't want this in my video, in my thumbnail rather. I apologize for the lag, it's because I'm recording a video right now. There we are. As you can see, that erased all of that and left it entirely to the background layer, but I want to keep that in. With the selection layer tool selected, if you have something selected, you can right click and choose to transform the selection. So you can change it if you didn't select the right area before. Nice, it's really useful to be able to do this as well. In case you accidentally messed up your selection, you don't need to reselect it. You can just hit transform selection. And there we go. And then select a different tool and just hit apply. Next, we have the eyedropper tool. This allows you to select colors into your primary color palette. Or if you select the secondary palette and say this, there you go. Nice and simple for selecting different colors. Then we have free select, which allows you to select a free region, which is useful if you're creating diagonal lines, since there is no polygon tool yet, that I know of, rather. Next we have the crop tool. We can use that this to crop the area of the photo we want to select. Let's go ahead and reset the crop and get rid of the selection tool. Don't apply. Rather, don't crop. I don't usually use the crop tool, to be honest. Here we have the gradient tool and the eraser tool. The eraser tool can be used by hitting Shift E, which is what I showed you before when I erased the selection. Nice and simple. Shift E is to erase. There's also the stamp tool, the custom shape tool, and the magic wand tool. The magic wand tool is pretty cool. If you select the layer, it'll only select the shape. So for example, say I wanted these to be in different colors. Let's go ahead and be... oh damn it, Control Z. Unfortunately, I don't think I can do individual, you know. Alright, rasterize the layer, B, there we are. And then, I believe U is Magic Wand? No, U is not Magic Wand. Magic Wand tool is W, so let's go with that. Brush, W for Magic Wand, B for brush. And then we get W again, and B again, and there we are. Now, I don't want any of this, so hit Control, Alt, and Z to undo everything you did. There we go. I just want it to be straight up like that. Now, this is nice and simple, right? Now, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and do something like this. Select this layer, choose a different font because this font does not take well to symbols. Let's go with Oblex. And hit number. First of all, I want that to be white. Same thing as the other one. And I want it to be a little larger. Oh. There we go. Number. episode number. There we are. And then we are going to right-click on this and hit duplicate layer, so that way I'm just going to name it episode number. Go ahead and hide the tutorial logo, tutorial text rather. Bring this down, unhide it, boom. Go ahead and accidentally do that. There we are. What the hell? Oh, it's because I rasterized the layer. Doy. That was dumb of me. Let's go ahead and get rid of those. You're not supposed to rasterize the text layer because then it makes it hard to edit that layer. So let's go ahead and rename this as tutorial. I accidentally changed this, so let's go ahead and put that down to 28. That's still probably too much. And let's put it to 18. There we are. Tutorial. I don't care if it's misspelled. I don't care! Okay, see. There we are. Tutorial. Duplicate layer. Episode number. Hide tutorial. Select move tool. Bring this down. Unhide that. Select this with the text. Hit 1. Increase the size to something a bit better. There we go. Move this here. Episode 1. Let's go ahead and change this. This is a little bit too big. I'm using my arrow keys to do that, by the way, if you didn't know. There we are. Nice and simple little thumbnail right there. And it took me about 11 minutes, and that's with me teaching you how to do stuff. I didn't realize there's a little bit. There we go. Nice and simple. There are also effects you can very easily add as well. For example, say I wanted a starry background to this. Go ahead into my wallpapers, into my backgrounds. I have a starry background, which I really love to use. This one right here. Go ahead and stretch it to fit the entire project. And I don't want the signature in there. I'm allowed to use this without a signature, so I'm fine. Now you may wonder, well, that just gets rid of that. So what you want to do is you want to go to the opacity and hit 50. And boom, there you are. You can still see the other one, and yeah. Nice and simple, right? Go ahead and select these two layers with Control-click. And merge the layers. And reselect that as background. There we go. That is the new background. Much better, right? So if you put other layers on top of your background layer and change the opacity, you can create entirely new effects. For example, say I wanted a lighting effect. So we go into the lights and flares. Which one do I want to use? We use the blue burst. Do one of these. Place it and change its opacity to 25. As you can see, it sort of makes it look more like an explosion, but I don't like how it, overpowers the rest. There we go. Kind of looks like there's a star shining right in the middle of all of that. So yeah, just a simple trick like that. Put one layer in, change its opacity over the old layer, and you've got an entirely complex little background, and it really didn't take that much time at all. All it took was you adding in a new image layer and changing its opacity. You don't really need to merge it with the other layer, but I like to just because it keeps things a little bit more organized. Alright, so let's go ahead and select a group, new group, and let's just name this text layers. I'm at 13 minutes. This is taking a while, but Photoshop is a bit much, so what you want to do is if you hit shift and click, it'll select every layer from the one you selected right down to the one you moused over. Bring those into the text layers, and boom. Now we have that in its own group. If we hide the group, all the text goes away. Now let's just go ahead and hit Control Save and put this into my thumbnails, and let's name it Tutorial PSD. Now what we're going to do is we're going to close this. And we're going to hit Control O to open, and we're going to open the template. Alright, now we're going to hit Control Shift and save to save it as an image, and we're going to save it as a JPEG. Tutorial 1. Alright, and now that's saved as a JPEG. Now say we want to make another thumbnail exactly like that one, just hit Control O, open the PSD file, T for the text tool, mouse over your number, and select the new one, Control Shift Save, JPEG, and 2. Oh, not 3. Nope, I keep mistyping. I'm a good tutorial person's. There we are. So the huge benefit of doing thumbnails in Photoshop is it saves all your settings, and then you just hit Control S and it saves your template again. Nice and simple, right? So we went over how to open a project, how to manage layers, the shortcuts for the different tools that you may want to use, which is all very nice and good, but you can see it still seems a little bit plain, don't you think? It could use some effects, like shadows and bevels and glows, right? Well, we're going to do that in the next episode, where I'm going to teach you guys about the different effects you can apply to your layers, the effects they have, and the custom shape tool, which will allow you to make different size shapes really easily. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please hit that like button for me. Let's try to get to 10 likes. Make sure to leave me a comment, guys, about anything you didn't understand or anything I may have missed or not explained well. And I will see you guys in my next Photoshop tutorial. See you later, guys.